Hello, this is Angelia, and you are watching or listening to the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. A podcast that talks about human development and psychology to try and help you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about socioeconomic status and the family environment. And that definitely has an impact on the family. If you're not so well off, that's going to impact you guys. If you're better off, that's going to also impact you guys. And so there's a lot of people who want to argue that point, but it's like, no, sorry, you're wrong. And this time we're going to take up on parental involvement and parenting styles, because that makes a difference too. Parents should be involved. If you're not involved, the kids are going to know they're, going to do their own thing. And parenting style does have an impact on the child, and it helps the child to either succeed or not succeed. Parents can affect their children's educational achievement by becoming involved in their children's schooling. And of course, you should. You should be involved. If you can, go to those PTA meetings. If you can, go to those open houses. Talk to those teachers and get a handle on what's going on in your child's school. And if you can't do that, send a little note, make a little call. You're important to the child, and their education should be important to you. Acting as advocates for their children and impressing teachers with the seriousness of the family's educational goals. So see, it's your job to let the teacher know, yes, we care about so-and-so's performance, and we want them to have a good performance in school. It does matter to us. And teachers will appreciate that. Because, like I said, when I was on the SBDM committee at my children's elementary school, I went to some of the classes, and there was a woman in there, and she just said, parents don't care about their kids. We're a glorified, babysitting service. They don't care, what we're teaching their kids as long as they're there out of their way. And I thought that was terrible, to be like that. And, well, there were a lot of other stuff happened there, but it wasn't good. Students whose parents are closely involved in their school lives and monitor their progress fare best in high school. So if you start out from, kindergarten or, preschool, wherever your kid goes to, then the kid understands that, you do care, that it makes a difference whether they're successful or not. Parenting style can make a difference. And it most certainly does. Research has consistently found that the benefits of authoritative parenting continue during adolescence. And authoritative parenting is the one where you explain stuff to the kids. There are expectations and there are punishments and rewards. You're like their counselor basically. You're teaching them, you're talking to them, you're the authority figure, and you're explaining to them the world and life. Authoritarian parents, they're the boss, they're in charge. You do what I say because I said it. Do what I do. Blah blah blah. It doesn't work. People like that end up rebelling and taking off and doing their own thing because the kid needs more than because I said so. And then permissive parents let the kids do anything they want. And then the kids out there being wild and having problems, and the parents are just, I don't know why they're like this. I do. Authoritative parents urge adolescents to look at both sides of issues. Admit that children sometimes know more than parents, and welcome their participation in family discussions. Because sometimes the kids do know more. They know more about what's going on in society at that point in time. They know more about, the latest tech and things like that. So there are times when the kid does know more than you parents. Sorry to burst your bubble on that one. But sometimes the kids do know more than you. And you need to listen to them and, value their input. Because sometimes they have some. These parents strike a balance between making demands and being responsive. Because it's okay to demand of your children. It's okay to have expectations from them. And you also, though, have to respond to them. It's a two-way street. Raising a person is a two-way street. Their children receive praise and privileges for good grades. Poor grades bring encouragement to try harder and offers of help. And we had some demerits for that too on our little chart, because I knew my kids were getting extra help. They were being pulled out of class, for ECE and things, and they were getting some extra help. So I expected them to at least be able to manage a C, because they're getting extra help, so they should at least be able to do what an average student can do if, you're getting some extra help. So, you didn't get as much allowance if the grades slid, and but if you got them A's, the money went up. You got an F, you didn't get nothing. You got the D, all right, you get a nickel. You got the C, you get a dime. You got the B, you got the quarter. You got the A, yeah, you got your 50 cents on that one. So, it is important that you get involved and help them with their homework, but also you can motivate them a little bit. Authoritarian parents, by contrast, tell adolescents not to argue with or question adults and tell them they will know better when they are grown-ups. Yeah, okay, that works with a child. Yeah, not. Good grades bring admonitions to do even better. Poor grades upset the parents, who may punish by reducing allowances or groundings. And like I said, I didn't ground the kids for that, but they did get less money, because sometimes they're doing poorly because they just can't, and if you're involved in the child's schoolwork and the homework and things, you can tell the difference. When the kid is having problems or when the kid is just being lazy and just don't want to do it. If you're involved, you can tell that difference. Permissive parents seem not to care about grades, make no rules about watching television, do not attend school functions, and neither help with nor check their children's homework. Now my husband's were like that. She was like, "Oh, I'm a teacher. I know all this stuff. I don't care. I don't need to go. Blah blah blah. I don't want to talk to them about that. I'm a teacher. I got my own. And they were allowed to do anything they want. They were like little wild, animals out there running around on 4 acres doing whatever they wanted to do. So, they were not all that into succeeding and doing well in school. These parents may not be neglectful or uncaring, but simply convinced that teenagers should be responsible for their own lives. And to an extent, that's true. It's all about balance, and you have to maintain the balance. You can't be negative all the time and fussing at them all the time, because then your words are just going in one ear out the other, bouncing off the wall or whatever. They're not going to listen. You can't act like you don't give a crap and expect them to listen to you. You have to be involved. That's your most important job, is raising little peoples. And you have to be involved, and you have to let them know that you do care about them, and that's why you're bothering, because if you didn't care, you wouldn't bother. Among about 6,400 California high school students, children of authoritative parents tended to do better in school than children of authoritarian and permissive parents. So that middle road, that balance there, that is where the kids are going to thrive. Just think of them as little plants. They got to be watered, they got to be fed, they got to have the sun. So if you're not providing them with anything, if the environment is too harsh, I think my thing just fell off the chair, then they're not going to thrive. Also, if you're just letting the winds blow them around and things like that, again, they're not going to thrive. You got to find that middle ground where there's a balance there, where they know you care, they know that you're thinking about them, they know that you love them, and that you want them to do their best. That's where they thrive. Adolescents raised authoritatively not only achieve better academically, but are more socially competent. So kids treated like that, like they're an actual person, uh, are more socially competent. They get along well with others. They can interact with others. They can have empathy for others because that was shown to them. They're more emotionally healthy. So, if you provide them with an emotionally healthy environment where they're allowed to have emotions and express their emotions and talk to you about their emotions, then they are going to understand other people's emotions, and they're going to be more emotionally healthy and less prone to, depression and anxiety, except for the chemical kind, of course, because they are centered more. They were in that area of balance. And show fewer behavior problems than children raised in authoritarian or permissive manners because they're not acting out. They don't need to. They are getting their attention from the parents. They know the parents care about them and love them. They're not acting out. They're not upset and angry at the world. They don't need to get attention because they're already getting the attention. What accounts for the academic success of authoritatively raised adolescents? Authoritative parents' greater involvement in schooling may be a factor, as well as their encouragement of positive attitudes towards work. And that's something I impress upon my kids. That, school was their job right now. That, enjoy your job right now, because all you got to do is go to school and learn and get graded on how well you've learned. That's your job right now. Because when you get older and become an adult, you're going to have a real job where you're going to have to work, and you're going to get graded in a way, because you can get performance reviews, and you either get to get more money or you get fired. So, learn from it now, because this is just a microcosm of your work life. A more subtle mechanism, consistent with Bandura's findings on self-efficacy, may be parents' influence on how children explain success or failure. So the parents, are shaping their attitudes of the kids for your work ethic. You might not think that when they're in school, but you are. You're shaping their attitude towards their work ethic, that it does matter. And it does matter, because if you want them to have a good future, then they should be doing well in school and succeeding and becoming interested in things and, taking part in things, and becoming, well-adjusted people. In a study of 2,353 students at 6 high schools in California and 3 high schools in Wisconsin, youngsters who saw their parents as non-authoritative were more likely than their peers to attribute poor grades to external causes or to low ability, forces beyond their control, rather than to their own efforts. So, if the parent is not telling them, you need to do the work to get the results, you need to put in the effort to get the results, then they're more likely, and a lot of people do this, where I live, there's a lot of people. Everything's external. Nothing's ever their fault. So-and-so caused me to have this problem. Did they? Did they really? Because that was your choice to do what so-and-so said, or not do what so-and-so said. It was your choice. You acted on that. Everything ultimately boils down to you. External forces can cause problems. Yes, they can. But ultimately, if there's choice involved, you're making the choices. So you can't blame everybody for everything. It's never your fault. You're always the victim. BS. BS. I'm just going to say that to you. Everything's your choice. A year later, such students tended to pay less attention in class and to spend less time on homework. So see, they already gave up. They had a bad attitude because they were probably witnessing bad attitudes. And they're like, it don't matter. It's just too much for me. I give up, And that's a shame, because no child should do that. That's a shame. Thus, a sense of helplessness associated with non-authoritative parenting may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they don't think they can do well, so they can't because they gave up. So they fulfilled their own prophecy. Discouraging students from trying to succeed. And that's a shame, and that's what it is, discouragement. You discourage the child. The child is discouraged, doesn't believe they can succeed, so they can't. They don't make the effort to succeed. So that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you may have put that into their head, and so you fulfilled your own prophecy, and that my kid's going to just be like me, and they can't do it, can't make it. So, you've doomed another generation to your supposed failure at the hands of whatever, because that was your attitude. And that's a shame. The findings about the value of authoritative parenting do not seem to hold true among some ethnic and cultural groups. And like I said, every culture is different, every people are different. There's no across the board, thing. But, even though they say that, authoritative parenting is the way to go. In one study, Latino and African American students, even those with authoritative parents, did not do as well as white students, apparently because of lack of peer support for academic achievement. So, even if they have authoritative parents, peer influences do come into play. And that's why I say it's important to know who your kids are hanging out with, and what they're up to. Because if their friends are telling school's not important, you can go here and make money, or you can sell this and make money, they might listen, because kids are not mature or don't have a lot of common sense yet because they're kids. So these things sound good to them, they make sense to them, and they might listen. So, and especially more social cultures, because African American children and Latino children are socialized together. They're out there all the time with each other, more so than white children who, might have the video games in the house and all that stuff, where they have a more solitary. They do go out and have friends, and things. We had plenty of friends at every house we ever were at. But, there's not as many socialization times. So in those groups, evidently, the peer pressure is a little stronger than with, the Caucasian, folks. On the other hand, Asian American students, whose parents are sometimes described as authoritarian, get high grades and score higher than white students on math achievement tests. Apparently because they like math, and because both parents and peers prize achievements. So in their culture, it's expected for you to do well. So even if the parents are authoritarian and things, they just expect that they have to do well. And their peers, expect that they have to do well. So that kind of rubs off on the whole attitude that, I need to do well in order to succeed. In addition, Asian Americans tend to go to good schools and take challenging courses because, again, their parents expect that. The parents find good schools for them, they send them to these good schools, and they're expected to perform. And they would also feel guilty if they did not perform when their parents were doing this for them. So culture does play a role in your, attitudes about life. They spend more time studying than white students and less time socializing with friends. And they are less likely to hold outside jobs because, a lot of them, the parents provide a little more support because they, are usually both working in most, homes where there are immigrants. And sometimes they own businesses. And so it's just kind of expected and they know it. So, again, your culture can definitely play a role on how you succeed or not. Among some ethnic groups, then, parenting styles may be less important than other factors that affect motivation. But again, The authoritative is the best. That's been shown again and again. That if you treat your child like it's a little person and speak to them like they're a person, not an underling or a dog or whatever you think when you're being authoritarian. I mean, I don't know, because I never wanted to be that way. It does make a difference that you build your child up without tearing them down. Because there's no reason to tear your child down. You're supposed to be building them up. You want them to go as high as they can go, not knock them down a peg until they're as low as the dirt and then think, well, why aren't you succeeding? Oh, gee, I don't know. Young people who are interested in what they are learning and whose parents and peers value education are more motivated to succeed. Well, duh. Of course, if your parents and family believe in you and support you, and your friends you're hanging around with think that's important, you're gonna feel that way too. Children learn what they live. It rubs off, folks. It really does. The strong school achievement of many first, second generation young people from immigrant backgrounds, not only Asian but also Filipino, Mexican, and European, reflects their families' and friends' strong emphasis on and support of educational success. Because educational success leads to future success. The better education you get in high school, better college you can get into. Better college you can get into, better fields you can go into. Better fields you can go into, more money you make. That's the facts of life. And some people argue, oh, well, so I got into never went to college. Okay, you got lucky. You got lucky. But that doesn't happen to everybody. Everybody's not going to luck into a business opportunity that makes you, a billionaire or whatever. You got lucky. In general, most people are going to have to get the education to become, a brain surgeon or whatever they're going to get into that's going to, give them that future that they're looking forward to. School factors. The quality of a school strongly influences student achievement, and that's true. Because some of the schools, my kids went to were Title I, weren't the best schools going. But I impressed upon them that it doesn't matter if the teacher's a dud, if the teacher's mean or whatever. Your job is to succeed. I expect that from you. These other little kids want to be losers and, not get good grades and not have a better future, get into good programs or whatever. Let them do that. That's not you. I expect more from you. And that's what you tell your kids. A good high school has orderly, unoppressive atmosphere. And I've been in a high school where there was definitely an oppressive atmosphere. It was like a prison. They were running a little prison. And I'm like, this is not good. This is not how you treat kids. My high school was great. We had a great time, and we also learned, and our teachers were supportive, and it was great. An active, energetic principal, and teachers who take part in making decisions. So again, your school should be a friendlier place. It should be a place where kids want to come to learn. It shouldn't be a prison where you're stopped and frisked at the door. You got security guards standing there. What you doing? Why are you? Get out of the way. No. That's just making the situation worse. Because then it's a combative thing. That's just people. Principal and teachers have high expectations for students, emphasize academic more than extracurricular activities, and closely monitor student performance. And of course, if your child can participate in extracurricular activities, that is enriching to them, and that gives them hobbies for life, probably. Lets them meet more people and new people and people they might be involved with throughout their life. So good gosh, my tongue today. Curricular activities are good for your kids. Just there are some people who just have this attitude like, you don't need to do that or whatever. My parents were like that, but it's good for them. It's good for them. If they're interested in it, let it do it. Like I said, one of my kids took a juggling class when he was in school. He didn't end up being a juggler, but he was interested. Let him do it. Let him, he had fun. He showed me afterwards, how he balanced a feather, and it was fun. Students who like their school do better academically and also are healthier. And so not only are they doing things that academically are helping them, but they're probably eating better, exercising, because they're happier people. Unhappy people don't eat well and exercise. That's just the fact of life. Adolescents, particularly boys, in most Western industrialized countries, like school less than younger children. And boys, even though they mature slower than girls, I've read in other studies where boys start getting antsy. About the age of 16, when they can get a car and get a job, boys start getting antsy. They feel that end of, high school coming, and they start getting antsy. So the last 2 years of high school, boys actually perform worse than they did in earlier years of school. Because, I hate to compare, boys to deer, but the young male deer or the young male other animals get the horns in and they're starting to feel like, I'm becoming a man, And so the 16-year-old boys, start, I'm becoming a man, I need to prove myself and get out there, and, so I think some of that also, we are animals. Let's face the fact, we are animals. We're not vegetables, mineral, we're animals. So some of those things are still in our, brains. So the young fellas, they start getting a little antsy, before those last 2 years of school. Adolescents are more satisfied with school if they are allowed to participate in making rules and feel support from teachers and other students. And that's why we have student councils. And I was on a student council for a little while. And you feel like you have some say in what's going on in your environment. And that's a good, experience, because then later on you realize, you can vote, you can, get involved with the world at large, and, sign petitions to help form policy, and, donate to certain groups to help, things happen. And so it's a good another little micro thing of, the bigger world. Schools that tailor teaching to students' abilities get better results than schools that try to teach all students in the same way. So Montessori, I've said this before, Montessori is the way to go. Because I know I felt bored a lot in school in the years I was getting poorer grades. It's because I was bored. I wasn't doing the work because I didn't care. Excuse me. I already knew the stuff. I was bored. So letting a child learn at their own pace and follow more of the things they're interested in actually is better for them. They'll learn more. They'll learn faster. So if you can get your child into the Montessori, do it. If you can get them into a good preschool that has a reputation for that, do it. Otherwise, stay involved. You can even satellite school your kids. I did that. We had homework, that I would have them do based on what they were learning in school. If they didn't have homework, oh, Mom got some homework for you. So that way they know that education is important. Research on Sternberg's triarchic theory of intelligence found that students high in practical or creative intelligence do better when taught in a way that allows them to capitalize on those strengths and compensate for their weaknesses. So again, that supports the Montessori style learning, where children can learn at their own pace. You might be on level 20 in English and still be back on level 5 in math. Everybody can just learn at their own pace and do what they do best, and that's where you're going to feel supported and feel like you're succeeding, is if you're allowed to, and that's, most of us pick college degrees and jobs based on what we're good at and what we succeed at, because that's what comes easiest to you. Indeed, a combination of teaching styles may be most effective for all students. In an experiment in teaching psychology to gifted 8th graders, groups whose teachers used methods that tap creative and practical abilities, as well as analysis and memory, did better, even on multiple choice tests. Still got a little cough. Than groups taught by traditional memory-based or critical thinking approaches alone. And of course, this is a pretty cool school that's teaching psychology in the 8th grade. But we didn't have that till I was in high school. It's important to get the child to think about why they're learning this. What does it pertain to in my life? Because that's kind of like some attitudes kids have. Why does this matter to me? It might, for whatever reason you can come up with. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I hope this helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, you can become a patron on my Patreon page. So that's all for now. Until next time.